guys, welcome back. So a lot of you know my background is in real estate investing. I absolutely love it. But what they don't tell you is what happens when you are, let's say you bought a fix and flip, right? And you open the door and after you bought it, it's been sitting there, you've been doing construction on it, and you come back for more construction, you open the door and your bags are gone. Or other things are gone. So today I have Eddie with Goosehead Insurance, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what kind of coverage specifically real estate investors need. So tell us a little bit more about what you know around this subject.
Happy to share that with you. I mean, one of the things you just mentioned is you're doing construction, you got a bunch of materials there, you got some new stuff there, and you come back overnight and boom, gone.
Copper is actually valuable.
Copper's valuable if you're replacing flooring in the household, the kitchen cabinets. I mean, what happens if you're, like I said, you might have just spent $25,000 on materials.
Or more, yeah.
But maybe you forgot to insure it. Did you insure the property that you just bought while you're fixing and flipping? I don't know. Did you talk to your insurance agent? You want to add on coverage for theft of building materials, because that way we can still cover that if it's stored in the garage, it's stored in the living room, wherever it is, it hasn't been installed yet.
Yeah.
That's theft of personal materials or building materials.
Yeah, because I know with all of our fix and flips, at least when you're using either hard money loans or even like lenders, just traditional lenders, they will all require you to get like incidental damage,
right.
Fire, flood, that kind of insurance. So that way they don't lose their asset, right? When you have a property, they've loaned you all this money, they want to make sure that if they have to reconstruct it, that the insurance is there. But nobody really talks about the building materials specifically. And I know people who have gone through this, who have had their house unfortunately broken into and those materials gone, and they've been left under.
Yeah, it's a common thing I've run into, and it comes down to a lot of times is some of these investors, they just want the cheapest policy.
Right.
They're like, oh, just give me the bare minimum,
well,
whatever the lender requires.
Your profits,
right?
You know, I mean, I understand it, I do.
They might be willing to take that risk. I'm
right.
like, well, and it's that question I asked the investor. So if somebody steals all your new building materials that you just spent $25,000 on, do you have another $25,000 to spend? Or do you want to trade?
Or do you want Even if you have it, do you want to drop another $25,000 on something you already just bought?
Or do you want to trade me $100 should this happen?
Wow,
because
that's it?
Insurance, not guaranteed to happen, right? We buy insurance in the what if.
Right.
But it could be as little as $100. We'll insure $25,000 of your building materials.
Wow.
Why not trade that off?
Are we talking as little as $100 a month or $100 a year?
It'll be about $100 for a 6-month period, because usually a fix and flip project is about 6 months. We're not going a full year.
Right, exactly. So spend $100 to reduce the risk of $25. I'd say the ROI is pretty damn good on that one.
Yeah.
What about if I'm a landlord?
So on landlords, also we want to look at different insurances. We want to put on there what we call personal injury for landlords, which could cover potential wrongful eviction and acts of the tenant. So we want to be able to push that insurance off onto the tenant as well. For example, let's say you do allow a tenant to move into your property that has a dog. What happens if that dog runs across the street and bites the neighbor?
How is that my fault?
You own the property. Who has the money? So if I got bit by a dog, I don't necessarily want to sue the tenant because the tenant's renting.
They may not have
likelihood
money.
of them having the money? Probably not. However, the landlord, whoever owns the house, they're still liable potentially.
Oh, wow.
And so I've seen multiple landlords be brought into a lawsuit for that. And just the insurance policy to have the right coverage, just to at least defend the case, is worth it at all. We might not pay out for the settlement, but what about defense costs?
Right.
What about the attorney costs?
Well, attorneys are very inexpensive, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely. They run only like $300 an hour. Nobody.
Oh my gosh!
Let's go with the attorneys.
Don't ever hire a long-winded attorney. I've learned that lesson the hard way. But let's face it, if that is potentially happening, and speaking of attorneys, if you don't have those set up through the proper trust avenues and different asset protection, not only could they sue you and potentially cause you damage for that specific house, but if it's a bad enough problem, they could go after your other personal assets as well.
Yeah.
So it's always a brilliant idea just to make sure you're covered on that. I mean, and how much extra are we really looking at on a yearly or 6-month basis for this kind of insurance?
The endorsement I just mentioned, honestly, $25.
Oh my gosh.
That's peanuts. It's not
right.
It's not even amountable to anything.
No, that makes sense. That's as much as the dog's bag of food.
Yep.
So, I mean, for a dog bag of food, you can make sure that your assets are covered.
Correct.
And with a really good insurance. If you are looking at becoming a landlord or fixing and flipping, I would absolutely love to help you buy or sell your next home. My name is Margene, and I'm with eXp.
And I'm Eddie Levine with Reset Insurance.